Salut tuturor, sunt Adriana Radu, îți urez bun venit la emisiunea Discută cu Adriana, singura emisiune dedicată freelancerilor. Deci dacă ești coach, nutriționist, instructor, terapeut, te rog să dai abonare la acest canal. Astăzi va fi o ediție în limba engleză, pentru că o am invitată pe Stephanie Fiteni, care a fost mentorul meu, așa că o să dăm drumul în limba engleză. Hi Stephanie, thank you very much for accepting my invitation. I just mentioned that you've been my mentor back then when I started to discover the wonders of marketing, online marketing, and I'm very grateful for that. So if you can just tell us a few things about yourself.
That's right. So thank you very much for having me on, Adriana. I'm Stephanie Fiteni, and I'm a digital marketing coach for coaches. I help all kinds of coaches start their business online and, of course, get their first clients by building traffic to their website using search engine optimization, social media, and, all those lovely things that work today.
Yeah, I remember when I started with you, it just sounded like, what the Chinese is this? I just couldn't figure out what it was about. Now it's much easier. Well, actually, we're going to get into the topic. So yes, attracting clients. This is the holy grail for any coach and actually for any online business. So basically, there is not a lot of noise out there in the online world. And we need to stand out to get clients, so we can actually sell our services. So okay, now we have the pandemics. What trends have you noticed, if any, in the tactics of attracting clients to your website or to social media?
During the pandemic. Okay, the pandemic changed a few things for a lot of people. Admittedly, those who were already in online business probably didn't see a lot of change. I didn't see a lot of change. What I did see was a lot of people coming into the industry that were still very new. So there was obviously more than usual. A lot of people were online. So there was also more business, especially in the beginning where people, had money, but they had nothing to do. So that was an interesting one. In terms of generating clients, I don't think there really has been much of a change. There has been a change in the sense that social media has been extremely active. Getting visibility has become more difficult. But as you know, Adriana, my main way of getting clients is actually search engine optimization. So it's people who are actually looking, for that particular service, or people who are looking to find a solution to their problem. So in reality, there was no change there. Actually, I didn't see any change when it came to the number of leads, or, it was pretty much like it was before the pandemic. What I did see was that there is an advantage to actually being international, because, as one country was closing and another one was opening, it's like clients were coming from different countries. So I could see that it was shifting quite quickly from one country to another. But overall, I think the strategies that always used to work still work.
Yeah, I remember when I started with you, working on these keywords, and actually I have to say that it was from my perspective, it was difficult, cringing, because I'm impatient, and I don't have I don't have enough patience to wait for people to say and even to think about it. But I have to say that now when I'm mentoring other freelancers, I'm trying to get them to do this exercise. But it's very interesting that they never think of what the client wants and what is searching. That trip that the client is going through from awareness to trial and decision. And this is something that people don't think. I mean, I have to admit that I didn't think of it in the beginning. I was like, hey, they have to buy it, you know. They have a problem. So it's all this trip that you have to go through. And I think that was, from my perspective at the time, painful, but very useful, because it really brought me clients afterwards. But you need to be patient. It's not something like overnight.
That's right. Yes, and it's especially hard for people who are starting out, because maybe they don't have that much information about the people who are their clients or who are their prospects, you know. So it can be hard if you're starting out, and it can feel slow and you can be impatient. Yes.
But what am I doing wrong? Why is not working? As you know, as Stephanie said, I used to be working.
It's just, you know, I think it just needs to take its natural course with a lot of things. You know, sometimes it's like you need a little bit of time in order to feel confident about a decision about what kind of clients you're going to work with, and also take your time to get to know them, because then once that happens, it just falls into place so quickly.
I think the most difficult thing that I see with the people I work is that they want to sell what they know. Oh, I know about life coaching. I know yoga. I know. And actually, the biggest mindset change here is to tell them it's not about you. It's about your client. It's his journey. It's his problem. So this is, and then that's why I think it was my problem in a way. Why I couldn't find those keywords, for example, because I was thinking about myself and not thinking about the client. You know, it was very, very strange. Tell me, because you were mentioning, you know, when somebody is in the beginning, when should a new coach open a website? How soon in his practice?
Okay. Tricky question. You're going to hear a lot of different people say different things. There are people out there who tell you you don't need a website from the beginning, and, you know, and maybe you don't. I think it all depends on where you're starting off. If you're starting off from scratch, absolutely from scratch, you don't have a lot of money to advertise, and, you know, and basically all you have is, you know, yourself and your skills, then it really helps to have a website. You know, you're going to find coaches who tell you you don't need it, but usually these are people who started off with quite a lot of cash when they started off their business. So either they were made redundant or they sold off another business, and they tell you you don't need a website because all they did was start a page and they just spent a whole lot of money on Facebook ads. But the average person does not start a business with a lot of money, you know, and this is not the kind of industry, I think, especially coaching and also freelancing, you know, it's not the kind of business where you're going to start off with a pot of money and have a lot of money to invest. So you have to start up slowly. So what I would suggest is definitely get a website as soon as you possibly can. You know, if you can spend some time learning how to do it, it's great. I definitely recommend trying to build your own site. It's not that complicated today. There are many sites out there. There are many platforms out there that can help you. And even though you're going to change your mind about what you offer and how you talk about yourself, building your website early is going to help you, because, you know, it's like, especially for people who need to be trusted, you know, your clients need to trust you in order to buy from you. And the first thing is today, especially if you're offering a service, if you don't have a website, it's like you don't exist. It's like people don't quite trust. So sometimes I find that coaches do start, you know, you can start even as a freelancer. Maybe you have a network and you start working really hard to get, you know, work from that network. But once the network runs out and you're dealing with people who don't know you, you're going to need your website. Definitely.
Sure. No, that's for sure. What do you recommend to attract people to your website? Because, of course, as I was telling you today, I had a conversation with a freelancer who was very disappointed that she put all her money in a website and it's not selling anything. And another one who's working with me said, I have it for 3 years and still not selling anything. Actually, do you sell from a website?
Yes. Well, yes and no. It depends what you're selling and how you're selling it. So let's answer the first question. So, getting the traffic. Now, a lot of people think that you create a website and the traffic will come. Unfortunately, that's not the case today. It used to happen in the 90s when there were like very few websites and many more people than websites on the internet. But today there are probably as many websites as there are people. So, in order to get visibility, you need to work. You need to work on your SEO in order to get visibility, and you also need to, you need to kind of compete in the sense of, you need to have good copy on your website. You need to make it simple to navigate. So you need to do a lot of things. But one thing that a lot of people don't understand, actually two things, is that launching your website is only the beginning. That's when the work actually begins, not when the work ends. Because once you launch your website, first of all, you need to keep new content, fresh content being published at least once per week. Because if Google doesn't have, or other search engines, but Google is by far the largest. So if the bots of search engines don't have a reason to come your website every week, what's going to happen is that people who are publishing more content than you are going to get the higher places. They're going to get more visibility than you. And, being in the second or third page of Google is like being, in a small hidden shop in a mall on the 6th floor. Nobody can find you. So it's one of those things. If you want people to find you, then you need to have consistent content. You need to learn at least a little bit about SEO and learn, how to compete out there. And especially if you're doing local SEO, it can be quite easy to get visibility if you're working in an industry where other people don't work so hard on SEO. So that is the best way to get traffic. Now, you may be able to kickstart it a little bit with social media, but the problem with social media is that visibility is very hard. And, when we post something, we get maybe a little wave of views and then it disappears. So the advantage that you get when you're creating content every week is that as your content starts ranking in Google, you're going to get your return on investment in the long term. So it's going to give you traffic return in the long run. So you've written that post, maybe you've invested an hour, maybe you've invested 2 hours, depending how long it takes you to write it, but you're getting a whole lifetime of traffic from that. So it's definitely the best way to create traffic. You can always pay for it, but it's expensive,
With one condition, that you have the right keywords, because if you don't have the right keywords, then you're dead. Because if nobody looks for those keywords.
Absolutely. So yes, that's extremely important to know your client and to find the right keywords, because if your keywords, I've met a lot of people actually who say, but I've searched my keywords and I'm using keywords. I'm like, but do you know if, the keywords you are using sound nice, but they're not the right ones. They don't have traffic, or, they don't have the right intention behind them. So especially for freelancers, it's very important to have keywords that have the intention to buy.
Yeah, that's a whole I would say science in there. I have to admit, what I found useful when I was working with you, that I was writing my blogs, and then I was at the beginning, so anyway, it was much difficult, and I was impatient. So I was going on all the social media, and in LinkedIn, because I was doing career career coaching at the time. So I was going on LinkedIn, I was going on different groups in Facebook. And frankly, and I was posting that link, and frankly, this is how I got my first two clients, I think, and I have to say that it was pretty fast, in maybe just a couple of months or so. But I think the biggest problem is when you start as a freelancer is this mirage that, there is an online world and it's so easy to make money. Well, actually, yes and no. You really have to work, and you have to switch the hat of a coach, which is a expertise business and a giving business, because we all start with, we want to give and we want to give, and you have to switch it on with the marketing and sales hat. And I find that one for many freelancers as the most difficult, because you don't, it's just like you feel you cannot give everything to everybody. You have to narrow down if you want to get money. I mean, of course you can do that if you want to have fun and just write about whatever you want. If you want to have a business, is niche is the word. Niche keywords.
That's right. If you niche down, that's right. It's very important that your keywords are actually niched, because if you use very broad keywords, they're going to be very difficult to rank for usually, because a lot of people will be trying to get those keywords. So definitely. And also, I think niching is something that is going to help people understand what you do better. So you're going to, when you niche, let's say you have a blog, and for instance, let's take my blog for an example. I write a lot of content for coaches. So when a coach comes across my content, they're not sitting there thinking, is this good for me or is it not? They know. So, they know that it's for coaches. So if they're interesting, or they're in a place in their business where they're looking for someone to help them with their online marketing or their online business, they know that they're going to find useful stuff on my website. Now, a percentage of those people are going to be in the right place and at the right time to actually go ahead and book a call, and then again, a percentage of those are going to be ready to buy. But, if my content was generic, I would get all kinds of people on my site, and only a small percentage of them would be coaches. So, you get a lot less conversion that way. You get a lot less sales.
So can we go back to the other question? Can you sell from your website? From a website? Because it's a very interesting. I mean, personally, I never sold anything. Yeah, just to make it very clear, I never ever sold. I mean, somebody to say, okay, I buy it from the site from Adriana. No, I always sold through webinars. I show people what I do, and they do, or they give me a call. I mean, they saw, let's say, a blog, and they do a discovery call, but I never ever saw someone buying, just say, oh, I want to buy Adriana's coaching, career coaching program, 6-sessional, 3-sessional, whatever session, So what can you tell us about this?
It's very rare. It's very rare that people go and buy something, a service from a website, without talking to the service provider first. So when you're providing a service as a coach, as a freelancer, as a consultant, it's very likely, even as a business. I ran an agency for over 10 years, and it's the face-to-face that sells, because people have so many questions. They need to talk to you before they buy it. And also, it's the kind of thing where, if you're going to buy something that requires to work with someone for 6 weeks, for 3 months, maybe you have a project, you're going to be working with a client, they want to make sure that there is chemistry. They don't want to work with someone, so people are going to look for the one-to-one. But if you're selling digital products, so if you're selling a product that is very common, let's say you're selling telephones, digital products or technical products, things that are going to be the same from your site and from someone else's, then it's very likely that you can actually sell them. I've actually worked with e-commerce products, and I've worked with coaches that were selling, these what we call low ticket items. So either a PDF that costs $19.
That's why I wanted to say, it costs $1 or something. I mean, very cheap. I mean, an ebook, something like that. Yeah,
that's right. So an ebook that costs $19, a mini course that costs, I have a mini course that costs $47, and that sells. It's actually not even on my website. It's on my Teachable page, and people find it and buy it.
Well, that's interesting.
So people do buy it, but it's also a matter of price and the kind of service. So, if you're buying a product which is a closed product, it's going to be much easier to sell it online. If it's a customizable, open-ended product, or service, is going to be harder to sell.
If it's a high ticket, I don't think anybody, at least I would say, let's talk about Romania. I don't see anybody spending over 500 euro without talking, to that person. But I wanted to ask you something. Do we put the price on the website or not to our programs?
Okay, that's a very good question. It all depends on what you do. So if you're selling to businesses, you don't normally put the price, because you'd expect to speak to the business first and then make a proposal where you have 2 or 3 options. So if you're a freelancer selling to businesses, don't put the prices on your website, for sure. If you are a coach, or maybe you sell similar services to a coach, and you're selling to individuals, so you're selling to normal people in the street, you're not selling to businesses, then it all depends on what you're selling. So if what you're selling is so affordable, that it's an amount of money people will take a risk with online, internationally, of course, because culturally and locally these things can change. So internationally, we'd say anything under $200 usually does not need a conversation. So if you have an online course that you can just sell off your website, you can actually price it at under $200, and it should sell quite easily. The same thing if you sell single sessions, or if you're a freelance consultant and you have and you sell, say, 2-hour strategy sessions as a consultant. So, you can still price them and sell them. However, when you go higher ticket, it is much better to not have the price, because you want to leave a little bit, you want to leave some things that people are going to ask questions about.
No.
So you want to, you want to make sure that there is a little bit of a reason for people. In fact, I normally put a very short description of the program, and I do talk about the fact that I customize it, and I talk about the outcomes and maybe have some testimonials, but there isn't a super detailed explanation on the site, because you want to leave it open to discussion when you go on the discovery call, because then it's usually something you're going to customize for the client. So even more important, if you're a freelancer, when you customize for the client, you're probably going to change the price.
Yeah, so very often, it happens.
Yeah, so in that case, it's very risky to put the price on the website. You may want to, if you have problems, so maybe you don't do it from day one, but if you have problems, let's say, I was a freelancer for many years. Actually, I used to build websites, and I was a freelancer for about 10 years before I opened my agency with my husband. So I'm quite familiar with the transition, and one of the problems you can find is that you start getting a lot of people who think you're going to offer what you offer at a lot less. So I don't know, let's say you're offering websites that are, in my case, I used to do very animated websites in those days. And, they used to cost over £500 or €1,000 in those days, which was a lot of money. It would like be the equivalent of 5,000 to 8,000 euros today. So it does help, and you see this in websites sometimes, starting from. So you can say, we take on projects starting from $500, starting from. It's very helpful as well when you do social media or you have monthly retainers as a freelancer. So you can say, like, we have monthly retainers and we can do all these services. We'll customize a package for you, but the minimum we start from is $250, $300 a month, $500 a month for a minimum of 6 months, because you want people to, if people don't have that money, you don't want them to waste your time.
That's true. That's a very, very good one. And I won't start here on the mental switch of, many freelancers at the beginning, they say, oh, I do pro bono. And I keep telling them, don't do pro bono. Think in your mind that you do something in exchange of a testimonial, of an email address. Don't think you're doing it for free, because you are somehow not putting any price on yourself. And I know you're in the beginning. We all have to start somewhere. That's true. But don't think of yourself as, oh, I'm doing things for free, because it's mentally not good for you. So anyway, you started a very interesting topic there. Should we do sessions? Should we do programs? Because there are, I get this question. I have someone I'm working with, and she has a very ambitious target. She wants in August to get like 5 unique clients a week. And I did some math with her and I said, look, if you want 5 a week, that means 20 a month. That means at least if you want 20, you will need to speak to maybe 70 people to turn this. So think about 30 hours of conversation. And I did the math, the reverse engineering, and she was like, oh my God, but I have a job as well when I can't do that. And I mean, let alone all the work she has to do to attract the traffic, to get people aware of what she's doing. So I kind of got her to think in terms of a program. So what's your experience here? Should we sell a set by session, by program? How do you see this? If it's somebody at the beginning, let's say.
Yes. Well, the only problem, so offering one session in the beginning is great. But usually the people who offer one session, there is a reason for that. And there is the right stage in business for that as well. So the right stage of business to offer the single session is when you're starting out and you have no clients. So you want to offer that affordable 1-hour session when you need to speak to as many clients as possible. And also when you're talking to them, you don't want to just get the money for that one session. You want to have something to sell them to. So you will need to make sure that one session in a way is like your webinar kind of thing, or webinar, preparing them for the next stage, or your free training. Preparing them for the next session.
If somebody comes for career, for relationship, for reconnecting with yourself, or whatever topic there is there's absolutely nothing you can achieve through one session. Short of a miracle.
It all depends on what you do, because, for instance, let's say if you're a freelance web consultant, you may actually give too much in 1-hour session, and then you'll be stealing from yourself, in the sense that people will not book bigger packages and other services from you because you've given them everything at one session. And probably they will achieve nothing because you have given them too much information, and they probably cannot action it without you. But they don't know that, and they go away thinking they got lots of value, but you're both losing. So this is something you have to be very careful of, because a lot of people do this. They give a lot. The client is happy, feels they got a lot. They're going to give you a great testimonial. But what's going to happen is that you're not going to make enough money, and they're not going to achieve the result they thought they were going to achieve. They're just, just got all this great information they didn't know before, but clients get results from taking action.
Yeah,
so
that's very much
need,
the case.
You do need longer. You do need a little bit longer. And especially if you're a freelancer selling a service, you can sell an assessment of something. You can assess maybe the situation of the person. You can assess anything technical that you might deal with. But then you need to give them a roadmap after that, and sort of offer to actually help them through a package in the long term with that roadmap, because otherwise, nobody achieves anything. You haven't really gained a client for the long term, and they haven't really reached the results they were hoping to get.
Yeah, that's true, and it somehow gets me to the next question, which is, how do we turn a discovery call in a sales and sell a program?
How do we turn a discovery call to tell? Okay, yes. So you've probably heard about a lot of people with a discovery call script and all this stuff. And, they tell you got to say this, and then you got to say that. And then, I have been through a lot of coaches myself. I've worked with coaches who had their script and they were like, use the script, it's going to work. But I found that, working with the script worked some of the time, but then it worked so much better without. It did, but you do need some kind of structure. So in fact, I've actually just last week, I published a blog post about how to write your own discovery call script so that you're comfortable with it, but it's got all the elements you need to guide the client, because not having a script is also dangerous, because you can waft off into a conversation, which I used to do. I'm a talker, so I just waste the time chatting with someone and, just forget that I was supposed to actually sell something on the call. So I used to do this a lot in the beginning. On the other hand, being stuck with a script, it felt very unnatural to me. And when I used to watch the recordings of my calls, I'd be like, oh my goodness, you can really tell that I'm not comfortable. And that's not going to help sell, because discovery calls are about connecting to the other person.
Yeah, that's true. And,
right.
some of them have
I can actually share the link with you if you want after.
I can. I will ask you to. I will leave in the comments anyway your links and stuff, so people can check your website and so far and so on. Now it's very funny about this script, because I'm following several coaches online, and it's very interesting. Some of them they have the same script, and this is the funniest bit. And, it's like, oh, do you want to chat? I mean, they say something interesting on their page or their group. And I say, yeah, I'm interested. Of course, I want to hear more. And I say, okay, do you want to have a call? It right to me in Messenger said, yeah, because on the call it says, yeah, and I will give you a plan or whatever. Sounds like. And the whole conversation, actually, he was just assessing if I can buy his course. Didn't tell me anything that I wanted to know. I mean, a plan, something that I didn't figure out from I said, okay. And then he tells me, do you want to book another call? And then I will really tell you this, that, and the other. Okay, then I became a bit suspicious. I mean, it didn't tell me in the first call, what the price was or stuff. So we booked another call, and then he presented me the program, which actually it was he seemed a very decent guy, and I like what he was saying, but I managed to do absolutely everything that he was telling me, and even a little bit more. I knew how to work those things out, but I didn't kind of like that. I didn't like this. Oh, I'm showing you, and I didn't get any added value out of this, although he promised me. And I read about other coaches who have this kind of script, you know, and
Yes,
yeah, that's very nice.
it's like they take it a little bit too far, you know. It's quite interesting because, you know, when you're dealing with businesses, it's like they almost expect you to turn up with slides and a presentation and having a formula and you saying the usual things one after the other. But for me, especially when it comes to dealing one-to-one, you know, if you're dealing with the person you're going to be working on a project with, if you're dealing with the person you're going to be coaching or teaching, then I think striking a relationship is important, because one of the things they're thinking about is, I'm going to see this person once a week for 6 weeks, for 8 weeks, for 3 months even, you know? And do I actually like them? Do I find it easy to ask them questions? Are they honest? Are they honest with me?
I think
You
this
know?
is the American, you know,
Are really
this is
important.
the American way, and I have to admit I'm biased there. And you remember I was telling you that I chose over an American lady who, to me, was like, it was shocking to me. There's no way I'm going. And it was this aggressiveness that I'm not. I mean, possibly it works very well in the States. I mean, I don't blame, I don't judge, because I feel that there are clients for each type of person, you know. But that's why this guy didn't get me, and I'm sure that his program was kind of, I mean, it was useful. It was showing me how to work with groups, for example, how to get people into groups, and there was some interesting tactics there. But yeah, and funny enough, it's cheaper than a program in Romania that I'm following now. So it was not a matter of money, you know. It was just the style and the fact that you called me twice just to assess me, but you don't give me any added value as you promised. I mean, I was expecting a sales anyway, but why 2 calls for that? You know, that was, you know, the amazing thing.
Well, I can tell you why they book 2 calls. They book 2 calls because the more FaceTime you spend with the clients, the higher your chance statistically of actually closing the call. And this is in fact the whole principle of creating content in terms of blogging and video. This is the whole idea. And this is why your leads, when they come to your website and they browse around and spend time there, that's why they're warmer and more ready to buy. Because when they jump on a call with you, they've already kind of spent some time with you. You don't know it, but they have. They know how you speak. If you write how you speak, which is very important. So they know how you speak, more or less. They know how you approach your topic or the subject that you're teaching. They know what you look like because you've got pictures, maybe even videos. They also know what you sound like, you know. So they've already been around you a bit and they're kind of already a bit warm. So if they also have the problems that you deal with, they're already, you know, 2 steps closer to actually buying from you when they book that discovery call. And this is sort of one of the reasons why SEO works so well.
I totally agree. But, you know, in a different way, I just felt that, you know, it's unfair. I mean, why didn't you tell me I was quite surprised that, you know, let's talk. It kind of rang a bell because initially he said, I'm going to go with a plan with this and that. And I didn't go with any plan. I was telling him about myself and my business, and I was like, oh, something it's wrong. Anyhow, so now we're getting close to the end, and maybe you have some advice for starting coaches in what should they do, you know, how to get more business faster if possible, because everybody, you know, it's like everybody was fast, you know. Yes. And is it possible? But anyhow, some advice would be really helpful for our audience.
Excellent. So this was actually a concern of mine because, as you know, I teach SEO. I'm passionate about SEO. I teach blogging, but these strategies for some people can actually take a few months to start working. And, you know, new coaches may have already quit their job. They don't have a few months to start making money. So it can be very much a chicken and egg situation sometimes. So this is something I actually worked on quite intensely in the last couple of years, because, you do need to create those leads really quickly. And what I find is that there are a lot of marketing systems that a lot of people are selling out there. But a lot of these coaches are $1 million coaches now, and they don't remember what it's like to start from the total bottom. So they tend to forget that little slice of time where it's literally you with no resources trying to lift yourself off the ground, for those first 2 to 10 clients, until things start moving for you. So I'll tell you what my advice is. The first and most important thing, and the one thing that I find new coaches lose a lot of clients for, is confidence. So you need to find your confidence. Even if you're not sure about the kind of clients you're working with, if you need to be prepared for your discovery call. So like you mentioned, Adriana, once you start creating some quality content and sharing the link, even on social media, even in groups, if you're consistent, people start coming out of the woodwork to speak to you. But you need to be prepared to close those discovery calls, because what I find is that people start getting discovery calls, but they're not ready to close them. And this really can delay the process. So what can you do to be ready to start closing right away? So the first thing is, before you do anything, make sure that you're confident about the packages that you're selling. Even if you just decide it's a 6-week program, and in this 6-week program, I'm going to achieve whatever the client wants in my end, whatever. So you need to be clear about what you're selling. Very important. The second thing should have been the first thing, but if you don't know your package, you cannot do it. You need the payment link. The payment link so people can pay you. That is the first thing, because if you don't have the payment link, there's 2 things that happen. It doesn't feel real to you. So that is a big step, because it will feel real when you have the payment link and you can actually see it and people can actually buy it. And if the client says, can I buy on the call? They say yes. You don't have a link to give them. They might change their mind, So this is something I learned right away. Definitely make sure that you have confidence in your package and that you have your payment link. And then you want to have, what I find that really, really helps me in the beginning is, I have a PDF which basically has my packages in it, just a short description and a small bullet list of what they get and the price. There's the full price and the payment plan. The reason why I put it together in the first place is because I don't have a head for numbers. I can never remember my own prices, especially the payment plans. So I created this PDF. And what it does is, when people ask you for the details of the program, you just bring up your PDF, you share it with them on the Zoom call, and you just walk them through it. And it just really helps you go through this process. And it's again, it's a mindset thing. It feels very real, even if you haven't sold it yet. So you're always convincing yourself before you can convince others, if you know what I mean. So that's definitely very important. And then there's 2 other elements that are very important to close discovery calls. The script, like I mentioned, I'm going to share the link. It's a blog. It's openly available. People can write their own. It doesn't even have a registration form. You can just go ahead and use it. So do your own script. Make sure you're comfortable with the script. Any part of the script that says should be in a script you're not comfortable with, remove or change or make your own. I have a lot of suggestions in the process, so I will just share the link with you. But definitely you want to have a script that keeps you focused, but is not so tight that it makes you feel fake, like you're not yourself. You need to be able to relax.
And then, it's good to have a starting point at least. And then, you see, maybe it worked, it didn't work, and then you tweak it. I mean, I don't think there is a general script. I mean, I'm working with an entrepreneur, and she has an absolutely fantastic script. But also she took some of my suggestions, and funny enough, I took some of hers, because I found she has very, very good questions. But I mean, it depends on you and how you feel and how you go there. So, but it's good when you're in the beginning. It's good, as you say, to have the link, to have the script, to have the packages, at least 1, 2, to say, okay, you want 3 session, you want 6 session, and well, what I'm doing, but okay, if you're the first time, maybe you can't do this. But what I used to do was to say, look, these are the 2 types of situations. This person, I helped them with 3 sessions, and this person, I helped her with 6 sessions. So I'm giving kind of examples. Back when I was a career coach, and it was like, good. Now I know you did this, and it seemed real, that I'm going through this, and if you take the bigger, package, I'm going through your LinkedIn's. We do, prep interviews and stuff. I mean, there was other things in. Okay, I know that I want this or that, but maybe when you're just at the beginning, it's a little bit too much.
That's right. Well, that's an interesting point, actually. One which actually makes a difference. One of the things which definitely makes a difference in your script as well is how many options do you give your client. So this is a very important, this is a very no. So this is the thing. If you're selling to an individual, as if you're selling coaching, usually there is one package that really suits them. Yeah. This is a mistake I used to make in the beginning, because I came from selling in an agency and selling as a freelancer. And in that case, you always have the expensive option that sells the cheaper option. So it's good to have 2. But in terms of coaching, what I found over time is that although I had the PDF with all my packages, I'd only ever show them one, the one that is perfect for them, the one that I know they really need. Because if I offer them any of the others, usually there's always one that is a better fit. So if I offer any of the others, usually it wouldn't be totally honest. So I realized over time that with coaching, I feel that it's always better to have one fit. And then if they want something bigger, I still, let them see the whole PDF if they want to. But very often it's very clear what they need.
It's a very good point. Well, Stephanie, thank you very much for all the advice. I mean, I'm sure people will find it really, really useful. I definitely keep learning, thanks a lot. I will put all the details to your site, to the blog, all the resources that we mentioned in the comments of this video. So thank you, Stephanie, very much, and have a wonderful day and week.
Thank you very much, Adriana. Thank you very much for having me. And best of luck. And I look forward to, sharing more information with you so that you can share it with your audience.
Thank you very much.